In this video, we're going to take a look at how you solve equations that have fractions in them. We're also going to look at inequalities because that would follow the same process. Okay, so the first thing that I recommend that you do all the time is if you have a fraction in an equation that you need to solve, you need to multiply every term by the lowest common denominator. And the reason you can do that is because if you have an equation and you multiply every term by the same thing, you don't change the equation, okay? The value of x doesn't change, but you must remember to multiply every single term by that same thing. So in this case, I've got denominators of 2 and 5, so my lowest common denominator would be 10. So I'm going to multiply, 10. Okay, so I'm going to multiply every term by 10. So I'll write this step out. So I'm going to do 10 times this term, 10 times this term, and also 10 by the term on the right-hand side as well. So when I do that, what happens is I can start to cancel. Now don't forget 10 as a fraction is just 10 over 1. And when I multiply fractions like this, I can simplify diagonally first. So 10 and 2 simplify because 2 goes into both of those. So that just becomes 1 and that becomes 5. Okay, so that term there just becomes 5x over 1 or 5x. Now let's see what happens to the second term. So again, I've got 10 times 3x over 5. 10 and 5, I can simplify those because 5 goes into both of them. So that becomes 1 and that becomes 2. So I end up with 2 times 3x over 1, which is 6x. And that's now equal to 220. And now look, I've got a nice, easy equation with no fractions in it. So now I would just solve equations the way I normally would, add like terms. 11x is equal to 220. Divide both sides by 11 to solve for x. So x is equal to 220 divided by 11, which is 20. Okay, so you can have a go at trying this one on your own or follow along with me. Okay, lowest common denominator. Our lowest common denominator in this case, lowest common multiple of 3 and 5 is 15. So I'm going to multiply every single term by 15. So I'm going to do this term times 15. I'm going to multiply this second whole term by 15. And I also need to multiply everything on the right-hand side by 15. Okay, now I can start to simplify. I've got, again, don't forget that's the same as 15 over 1, so I can simplify diagonally. So 15 and 3 goes into both of those, so I can simplify like that. So that term becomes 5 times x plus 3, and you'll see in the denominator that's just over 1. Same thing with my second term, so that's the same as 15 over 1. Cancel out diagonally. I get a 1 here and 3 here. So that term becomes 3 times x minus 4. And that's equal to 15. And now again, I've got an equation that I think I can solve. No nasty fractions in there. Expand the brackets. 5x plus 15 minus 3x plus 12 is equal to 15. Collect like terms. So on the left-hand side, I get 2x plus 27 equals 15. Now I'm going to subtract 27 from both sides. So I would get 2x is equal to 15 minus 27, which is negative 12. And divide both sides by 2 to get x is equal to negative 6. Okay, so when I solve an inequality with a fraction, the same thing applies. So look at my fraction here. I've got 2 and 3. So my lowest common denominator is 6. So I'm going to multiply every term by 6. So that's going to get a bit squishy, but I'll multiply this one by 6 as well. Okay, now cancel things out. So between 6 and 2, that becomes 1, that becomes 3. So this term is now 3 times 1 plus x over 1. And then my inequality sign says less than. Let's cancel out this term. So that becomes 1, that becomes 2. 2x minus 1. Okay, expand the brackets. 3 plus 3x is less than 2x minus 2. I'm going to collect like terms, and I'm going to put all the x's on one side of the inequality. So I'm going to first subtract 2x from both sides. So that leaves me with 3 plus 3x minus 2x is x, is less than negative 2. And then I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. So I get x is less than negative 5. Last one, same process. So again, please try and give it a go on your own if you're confident. Otherwise, let's take a look. Lowest common denominator in this case is 6. Okay, so my lowest common denominator is 6. Okay, I still have to multiply every term by 6. Okay, and now let's simplify some of this. So 6 divided by 6 is 1, so those just become 1. So my first term is 1 times 7x minus 1, which is just 7x minus 1. Here I can simplify that to get a 1 there and a 3 there. So that becomes minus 3 times 2x minus 1 is less than 6 times a half. You can probably do that in your head. It's 3, but if we cancel out like we've been doing, you can see that just becomes 3 times 1 over 1, which is 3. Okay, and now expand the brackets and solve as you would normally do. So I'll just rewrite this bit, 7x minus 1, and multiply out this bracket. So minus 6x plus 3 is less than 3. Collect like terms, so I get on the left-hand side, x plus 2, is less than 3, and then subtract 2 from both sides to get x is less than 1. Okay, and that's it. So all you've got to remember here is that you want to multiply every single term by your lowest common denominator.